Was brought to you as always by manscaped.com. Make sure you check out Manscaped at manscaped.com. Use promo code TGT20 to get 20% off your first purchase and free shipping. I'm your host for the NFL show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. I love the longer pause there.
I know. I figured you would. So we have to stroke your ego a little bit as it's kind of run rampant. But all right, let's go ahead. And today we are looking at the NFL power rankings. So let's go ahead and get it started off. This might shock some people. Number 1, the Buffalo Bills. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. You say in your article here that you still think the Chiefs would beat the Bills. So why do you rank the Bills number 1?
Because I think a lot of people wouldn't pick Kansas City at this point because Buffalo is playing better football. I mean, Kansas City scored 17 points against Atlanta the other day, and Buffalo has a better running game. I think the offensive line's better. They have a better defense. The receivers, they don't have a top-heavy talent of a Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, but they still have Stephon Diggs, some good receiver depth. If we're ranking just how hot these teams are right now, Buffalo is definitely hotter than Kansas City. And you yourself are saying Josh Allen's not that far away from Patrick Mahomes right now.
No, he's better than Patrick Mahomes is what I was saying.
I'd still take Kansas City in a head-to-head game. I still would.
Okay. The only concern here is with the extra playoff spot. I don't like the extra playoff spot because, number 1, I think it waters down how many teams are in the playoffs. But number 2, a team like the Buffalo Bills deserves a bye here. And the problem is, I don't think there's much difference between the Chiefs and Bills, but the Chiefs are going to get the bye. The Bills are going to have to actually win 2 games to even get to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, you could look at that as a negative, although I would say in terms of the watering down, so you're going to have a 10-win team miss the postseason in the AFC. So it's not too watered down on that side of things at the very least. Maybe on the NFC side of things, you could say the 7th seed isn't that deserving. But on the AFC side, you're going to have at least one 10-win team miss.
I'm sorry, but on the NFC side, the 4th seed and the 7th seed will not be deserving. And my take on this is still the 7th seed right now, if it's the Cleveland Browns, they're not a playoff team. I mean, really,
no, they're really not. But you could also make arguments that, hey, maybe a Pittsburgh Steelers team could go in and get destroyed in the first round. You could probably make that argument. I could see Miami, if the offense just goes out there and is terrible for a game, I could see Miami getting blown away in the first round.
Yeah, I could see anybody in the playoffs outside of Buffalo and KC on the AFC side getting blown out in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, whether your team's up there, Indianapolis, I don't think Tennessee will get blown away. I think Tennessee will find a way. I think they're pretty solid usually.
We watched them get blown away this past week. So I think Tennessee's defense is why they can be blown away.
No, I agree. I just think that Aaron Rodgers, Tennessee's not going to run into an Aaron Rodgers type player in the first round. Because they're set to win the division, I'm pretty sure. So they're not going to meet Buffalo or Kansas City in the first round, which I think gives them at least one probably easy win. And Baltimore, Pittsburgh, maybe an Indy or Cleveland team.
And then they can be blown away.
And then it might happen. Then they might get blown away in the second round.
That's what I'm saying. All right, number 3. When we look at your number 3, you've got the New Orleans Saints at 4 to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is that strictly because the Buccaneers dominated the Saints 6 weeks ago?
Well, the Saints dominated the Buccaneers, and partially it is. I still believe Michael Thomas has a good chance to make it back. It's not guaranteed. There's still a chance he can make it back. Alvin Kamara, coming off a game where he ran for 6 touchdowns. The biggest concerns for New Orleans right now, the offensive line's great. The defense is very good. It's got to be Drew Brees, right? Drew Brees has been not very – you saw where he was in my quarterback power rankings the other day. He didn't even really fight me over 19, I think. So he's not been very good since coming back.
All right, that's kind of my problem. Why would you have the Saints in front of the Bucs then? The Bucs blew out the Saints. I think the Bucs are playing better than the Saints right now. I also think number 5, the Green Bay Packers, and number 6, the Seattle Seahawks deserve to be ahead of the Saints.
Really? I can see Seattle's defense. We have mentioned the defense is playing. I still think New Orleans has such an advantage with the offensive line and with their defense that they could probably just outmuscle a Seattle Seahawks team.
But I think Seattle has a huge advantage at quarterback.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But I just don't know if Russell Wilson by himself. He does have, like I said, improving running game for Seattle. But if you have Alvin Kamara run for and Latavius Murray combined for 220 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. There's no way Seattle will win that game.
Well, my question is this. The Saints at number 3, the Bucs and Packers both kicked their ass. And the Saints were healthy for those games, if I remember right. So I really, when you look at the record,
you got it wrong. The Saints beat the.
Oh yeah, the Saints killed the Bucs twice, but the Packers
Yeah.
beat New Orleans in New Orleans. So when I look at that, I have it, dude. Right now, if New Orleans was going to Green Bay, I'm not a big Packer fan, but I'd be worried if I was New Orleans. I'd be worried because of Drew Brees. My whole question with this team is Drew Brees, which really blows me away because I would never think my question with the Saints headed into playoffs would be Drew Brees, but it is also Sean Payton, because Sean Payton's a hell of a football coach, but he's also an egotistical ass who a lot of times gets himself in trouble because he thinks he's more than what he is, and he tries to show people that. And let's face it, New Orleans Saints have a propensity, no matter how good they are, to blow it when they get to the postseason.
I think it's been, 3 or 4 years in a row now where they've had things. It was like the Minneapolis Miracle. Then it was the no call, and they lost to the Vikings again last year. It just happened to them. And I could see a situation where maybe you put Taysom Hill in for a play and he screws everything up. I could see Sean Payton outplaying himself. I still really like their running game. I think the running game is what you would get from Seattle, Green Bay, or Tampa Bay, and that's part of the reason why I lean New Orleans.
Yeah, but my problem is this. Will Michael Thomas be healthy? Without a healthy Michael Thomas, Drew Brees doesn't scare me at all. And I can load the box up, take away the run. And then the question is, just like with Big Ben, can Drew Brees consistently throw the ball down the field 20, 25 yards intermediately and throw the ball deep? I don't know that he can anymore.
Yeah, he did hit. I think it was Emmanuel Sanders for a pretty big play this past weekend, but I think that consistently is in question. From what I'm reading right now, it looks like they are expecting Michael Thomas to be back in time for the playoffs.
All right, the Tennessee Titans at 7, the Miami Dolphins at number 8, number 9, the Pittsburgh Steelers. When I look at this, I could buy it, but I could also tell you this. Once we get past 6, I mean, 7, the Titans would be dangerous if they could play defense, but they can't. I was big on the Titans a few weeks ago, but the more I watch them, defensively, they're not getting any better. Miami at number 8, I still think this is a team that's a year away. Pittsburgh at 9, 1/2 against the, who the hell did they just play? 1/2 against the Indianapolis Colts does not wipe away the previous 10 quarters of football they played, where the Redskins, Bengals, and Colts, all 3 dominated them, Sam. So 7, 8, 9, I think there's huge questions. There's huge questions everybody below 7.
I agree, because I think Seattle, with Russell Wilson and improving running game and defense, that gives them quite a bit of an advantage. They've won the division now. You turn around and look at Tennessee, you're right, that defense is just going to kill them. So they have a good offensive line. They've got the receiving threats, the quarterback and the running back. They just have absolutely nothing on the defense. It's horrible. Miami might be a bit around. Miami's got a very good defense all around. The question for me is quarterback and health of some of the offensive weapons like Mike Gesicki and Devontae Parker, who have been injured. I don't know if I trust Tua Tagovailoa right now. He's a rookie. I understand he's got a very promising future, but I think it's too soon to put Tua in a situation where you're going to say he'll be able to go out there and beat one of the top 3 or 4 seeds in the AFC. I don't think that's going to happen. And for Pittsburgh, you're right. I mean, I'm basing this ranking on the top 10 spot on one good half of football. If Ben comes around and plays like he did against Washington again next week or in the first round of the playoffs, then it's all over.
Yeah, and it probably will be, which I would hate to see the Steelers get beaten up in the first round of the playoffs. Number 10, the Baltimore Ravens. 11, the Colts. 12, the Rams. I think the Colts should be ahead of the Ravens, but I don't think either one of them's very good. I think they both have tremendous issues. I think if they played each other right now, I may lean towards the Colts just because maybe Phillip Rivers can throw the ball, but I don't know about that. I think this is a push. I could see 10 and 11 being 10 and 11 either way. You got the Browns, the Rams. This is the same thing we saw at 9. It's the same thing we're going to see for a while here. The rest of the way through, there's no team here that's complete. There is no team that does not have a significant issue. When you look at the Ravens, Colts, Rams, and Browns, if you had to pick one of them to possibly win a game or two in the playoffs, which one of the 4 teams would you pick?
The one with the best coach, and that'd be Baltimore. It's not because of Lamar Jackson or anything like that. I think, honestly, the best coach and the best coordinators as well. And it comes down to when it's a close situation like this. Like you said, it's a push. And if it's a push, I will turn towards coaching. I think the Ravens have the best coaching staff in this situation by a long shot, more than Frank Reich or Sean McVay or Kevin Stefanski. So I think Baltimore would be the one that I would pick. And if I had to pick a second one, I guess depending on the matchup, maybe Cleveland, because they could run the ball. They have a very good offensive line. They wouldn't have to throw the ball potentially, depending on who they faced.
Yeah, but you know what? I'd rather throw the ball right now with Baker Mayfield than I would Jared Goff.
That's a good point. That's a good point as well. The Rams are up there mostly because of their defense. Their defense is very good.
Yeah, but I would put the Browns ahead of the Rams right now. Other than that, I think so far you've been pretty spot on. 14 the Bears. I can make a case right now that I would put the Bears, the way they're playing, as high as 10 or 11. I don't think they're that good, and they're going to get beat this week, and they got to hope the Cardinals lose. So when you look at it, though, the Bears have played really well. And I know neither one of us think Mitchell Trubisky is that good, but so far, the last 4 weeks, he has been.
Yeah, he's really helping out. That offense is getting better. And what they've done is they're making it so throwing the ball quicker from the pocket. They're attempting shorter passes, and that's really working out. But it's only a matter of time. We've talked about this with Pittsburgh. It's only a matter of time until defenses recognize that, hey, you're throwing these shorter routes. Eventually, you're going to come and just play press coverage, and you're going to be able to shut down those plays, and you won't have that easy offense anymore. So I think there is going to be a very, very low ceiling here for Chicago's offense once they reach the playoffs, that is. The one saving grace might be the run game right now. David Montgomery's been very hot the past 5 weeks. He's got 529 yards in the past games. So that might be what their one saving grace besides the defense that's been highly underrated for about the last half of the season.
All right, number 15, the Minnesota Vikings. I think you have them way too highly rated. Their defense is horrible. As Sam McGinnis would say, they're trash.
No, their defense is awful. I mean, just look at what Alvin Kamara did in that one game. They're only up this high because they still scored 30-something points against a pretty good Saints defense. And that's because of Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins. They have the weapons offensively, but it's, like you said, a totally one-dimensional team. The problem is, look at the teams below them. There's maybe two that I think you can make an argument are better than Minnesota right now and actually win head-to-head.
I think Arizona might be able to beat them if Kyler Murray is healthy. I don't know. To me, I would put the Dallas Cowboys at 15 right now.
See, that's the one. I did not expect you to say Dallas out of all the teams down here. I thought you might say Washington. I didn't think you were going to go for Dallas.
Well, this is the thing. Washington, we don't know who's going to play at quarterback. Right now, if they played each other, I think Dallas would blow their doors off. Andy Dalton is a legitimate Pro Bowl quarterback. You know, this is not a normal backup. Andy Dalton took the Bengals to the playoffs 5 straight years. That's the Bengals, by the way. I mean, Kenny Anderson, most people I know believe Kenny Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame. Kenny Anderson took the Bengals to the playoffs how many times, Sam?
Was it like 2 or 3?
He took the Bengals to the playoffs in 73, lost to the Dolphins 34-16, Raiders in 75, 31-28. They had the Super Bowl run in 81. They lost to the Jets 44-17 in 82. So Kenny Anderson, man, is considered a Hall of Fame quarterback by a lot of people. Only made it 4 times in like 14 or 15 years. Andy Dalton did it 5 times in his first 5 years. He also has, you know, no matter what you say, Ezekiel Elliott's one of the best running backs in the game. They've gotten guys back on defense. The defense has played better. They're still going to lose in the first round probably. But right now, would you really bet Washington, Arizona, or even a team like anybody you've got in the top, 13 or 14, and then throw in the Rams there because you got them ranked too damn high. But I mean, outside of 11, to me, outside of 13 teams, I would put the Dallas Cowboys at number 14.
I could see that, though. I'd be very interested in watching Chicago's defensive front terrorize Dallas's offensive line, which is basically a bunch of second stringers at this point at the time of the year. So I don't think that they're that good. I think they played a bunch of crap teams here down the stretch.
I did not put them ahead
because of it.
I didn't put them ahead of Chicago. And half of the NFL is crap teams. So you got to be able to beat crap teams. And the Minnesota Vikings are at 15. They're not a crap team, but they've lost to a fair amount of crap teams, which is why they're 6-9.
I thought you said you were going to put Dallas at 14. That would mean they would have to go ahead of the Bears.
No, because you are looking at your rankings. You've got the Bears at 14. I just said I would have the Bears at like 11 or 12. Okay. See, you're messing this up with your stupid power rankings, but I'm talking about my stupid power rankings.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I could understand moving them up a little bit.
How
I
about
really
this?
hope Alex
If
Smith
they
because I really want
if
to see a
they,
matchup with Washington's Alex Smith and that defensive front against Dallas and Andy Dalton. Because I think that could be a
but
very good
you
game.
don't know if you would have Alex Smith, and Alex Smith's not as good as Andy Dalton.
No, he's not. But Washington's defense is much better than anything Dallas can put forward.
Yeah, but right now Washington's also missing their starting running back. The Cowboys have more weapons. The Cowboys are playing better football right now, I think. I mean,
Gibson's going to play this weekend.
he's going to play.
The
So
running back is going to play this weekend.
this gets settled. The Redskins win their game against the Eagles, and it doesn't matter who's better. So if the Redskins come out and get the job done and beat the Eagles, I think it's safe to say they're better than the Cowboys. The Cowboys just manhandled the Eagles. So we'll see what happens. The scary thing is that I almost want to see the Cowboys make the playoffs just because I'm a Bengals fan and I really like Andy Dalton, and I think he really gets undersold. And I mean, with the Cowboys, there's 6 wins. How many of those 6 wins was Dalton the starter?
I'll look it up right now. 4 of them were.
How many losses were on Dalton?
4 as well.
So he's 4-4 without him, with Dak Prescott and whoever else came in when he had the COVID issues or whatever his problem was. They are 2-5. With Andy Dalton, they're 4-4, correct? So if they were to win this game, go 5-4 with Dalton, does that make you, if you're Jerry Jones, considering letting Dak go and keeping Andy Dalton as your starter?
I think it would depend on how much Andy Dalton's asking for. But if you can get Dalton on like a 2, maybe a 3-year deal for something in the range of 15 to 20 million versus paying Dak Prescott 40 million on a 3 or 4-year deal, I think you would absolutely take a swing on Andy Dalton. That's a much better option than paying that huge chunk of your cap to Dak Prescott, a guy coming off a serious injury.
Now, do you think Jerry would run a risk alienating fans in Dallas by doing that? Because I would think most Cowboy fans would think he would be crazy to keep Dalton for Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I agree. But does Jerry really care about the fans?
I think he does. That's why I think Jerry signed a lot of guys before just because they had a name, just to make people happy, I think.
I think Jerry did that to sell jerseys. I don't know if people are happy.
Either way. I mean, Dak Prescott probably sells more jerseys than Andy Dalton. Number 19, the Chargers. Number 20, the Raiders. The Chargers. Does Coach Lynn keep his job?
No, absolutely not. You have some pieces here with Justin Herbert, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, but Anthony Lynn has been one of the biggest issues for them this year besides injuries. I think you have to get rid of Anthony Lynn to find a better coach, especially someone who can actually finish games, because they've been one of the worst teams down the stretch this year.
Yeah, I think they may keep him. I mean, you've got a bad ownership group in the Spanos family, so you never know what they do. I don't think Lynn's a bad coach, but I think they do need a change there. Number 20, John Gruden, who fixes and point shaves in NFL games. I would say this: if not for $100 million contract, I'd fire his ass right now, because they were set to go to the playoffs this year, and they tanked. They lost to a Chargers team that they should have beaten. They lost to the Dolphins in a game that Gruden basically gave away. The only thing saving his ass right now is that long-term contract.
Yeah, if you look at where they were a couple weeks ago, this is a team that should be in that 10-win conversation right now. They should be fighting for a playoff spot. Instead, it looks like they're probably going to finish out 8-8 because they've been on a losing streak. And frankly, they are more talented offensively than their record shows. We saw what Derek Carr was doing early in the year. But things have just fallen apart here. I think you have to point to the coaching staff and say, what changed here? Why have you not?
Yeah, and the defense was horrible. The offense, like I said, taking a knee with over a minute left and giving the ball back to the other team when you could have went and scored a touchdown and forced them to score a touchdown is absolutely stupid. Number 21, the Atlanta Falcons are 4-11, and you got them at 21. Explain, please.
Falcons defense has been much better so than what they were early on in the season. I know you're going to point to the Chiefs. They had one really good game against the Chiefs, I'll admit that. But that defense, you watch them play, their pass rush is starting to come together. They're playing the run much better with Grady Jarrett in the middle. AJ Terrell, the rookie cornerback, is actually playing a lot better than that. So is that pass defense. They're getting stuff together on that side of the ball. Matt Ridley, the past 3 games, has been very good. Calvin Ridley's been amazing despite not having Julio Jones around. So they've been better offensively and better as an overall team than I think most people are giving them credit for the past, I want to say, 3 to 4 weeks.
All right, number 22, the 49ers, 23, the Patriots, 24, the Panthers. You can't really argue with much of it there. I would say from what I saw with the Patriots, they should be even lower. They're just 6-9 because Bill Belichick's really good. If he wasn't, they would be maybe have Trevor Lawrence. 25
Yeah,
to New York Giants. 25 to Giants. The scary thing is the Giants are 25. They're 5-10, and they have a legit shot if they can beat the Dallas Cowboys to possibly make the playoffs.
Yeah, they are somehow still in this mix, but I guess the Eagles only got eliminated this past weekend, so I guess it's crazy how things are working out there in that division. But the way it looks right now, the Giants just don't have an offense. I mean, Daniel Jones is not a very good quarterback. They don't have a running game. The offensive line still needs a lot of work. And the defense has been good, but at some point it ends up breaking down because the offense never comes through for them. And they don't have to possess the ball in the defense from getting stressed out and getting tired as the game goes on.
How about this? I believe the Cincinnati Bengals at 27 should be ahead of the Giants and the Eagles.
I really considered it, Mike. I really considered them putting it a little higher because they have been winning games, surprisingly, at the very end of the season here. Granted, there have been some not very good teams, including a Pittsburgh team that was not very good and maybe still isn't very good.
Yeah, we will find more out about the Bengals this week. They're going to play a Baltimore team that has to win to make the playoffs. So Zach Taylor's really on to something here. We should see it this coming Sunday. I'm not going to hold my breath, just like I would never hold my breath until the Detroit Lions were to win a playoff game, which they have not done since 1991, which unfortunately for me is like, a year just past the Bengals' last playoff win in 1990. So when you look at this, the Detroit Lions are a mess. The Denver Broncos are a mess. Houston's a mess. I would put Houston ahead of Detroit and Denver just because they've got Deshaun Watson.
I can understand that, but I think the way they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals they really don't have anything defensively. I mean, Brandon Allen looked really good.
They don't.
I'm not saying Brandon Allen's not a decent quarterback, but it's Brandon Allen, and your defense got chewed up to pieces. I think Denver and even to some extent, I can't believe I'm saying this, even Detroit has a better defense than Houston at this point.
Well, how about this? Houston's just not trying. Romeo Crennel is a shit coach. He always has been. He always will be. His teams don't play for him. It's why he gets fired every place he goes. He's a decent coordinator. And J.J. Watt sounded off in the press conference, but I don't think J.J. Watt got one pressure on Brandon Allen the whole game, and he's being blocked by Fred Johnson and Bobby Hart. So J.J. Watt needs to shut the hell up because he didn't do anything. So if you didn't do anything, why you go bitch about everybody else not doing anything, Sam?
Well, he did have 2 quarterback hits, actually, and he is, I think, second in the NFL in tackles for loss or tackles at the line of scrimmage. Much better than what people are saying this year. I think some people now actually looking at what he's done this year, and they're just thinks they want to whine.
I mean, he was going against Bobby Hart and Fred Johnson. Did you hear me on that?
I heard you on that, Mike.
Okay. If he hit the quarterback twice, and he was in for 50 or 60 plays against Fred Johnson and Bobby Hart, he didn't do anything to be able to say anything at all. I'm looking at the stats right here, and in this game, he had 1 tackle and 2 assists. That's not much for a guy that's going to call everybody else out.
You are full of shit. You were reading the. Oh no, you were reading the right numbers.
Well, it says 1 tackle, 2 assists. Yeah, so don't tell me I'm full of shit, little Risley.
Don't compare me to Steve Risley.
Well,
I don't turn a 30-minute show into an hour
45-minute
show by babbling on.
Oh, he's just kidding, Steve, and that'll make the Pick'em show on Friday that much more entertaining because Steve will see that.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So yeah, J.J. Watt needs to shut the hell up. Has J.J. Watt? Do you really think J.J. Watt's been that good this year?
Yeah, he's been one of the top 10 best defensive ends in the NFL this year.
Maybe I just don't notice it because they lose constantly.
Yeah, that could be it too. I mean, you don't see
but I'm really
a lot from anyone playing in Houston.
I'm really saying, it's like when Myles Garrett plays against Bobby Hart and Fred Johnson, Myles Garrett usually makes himself known. And, J.J. Watt this year has 5 sacks and 34 solo tackles. I don't know where that's one of the best 10 defensive ends in football. He's not as good as his brother.
Oh, no, Not right now, no. He's 31 years old, like coming off of a couple season-ending injuries.
Yeah. All I'm saying is when I look at these stats here, I mean, I don't see a whole hell of a lot. I see 5 sacks for the season, and 2 of those were in week 2 against Baltimore. I mean, he has went his last 3 games without a sack. He's only had 2 sacks over the last half of the season. He had 3 sacks the first half of the season. Now I know it all ain't about sacks, but when you're known for sacking a quarterback, maybe it is.
How about this? DeMarcus Lawrence is still one of the 10 best defensive ends in the NFL, and he's not a sack artist right now either. He hasn't been piling them up either, and he's in Dallas right now.
All right, all I'm telling you is this. When I look, 2019, J.J. Watt played 8 games, had 4 sacks. This year he played 15 games, he had 5 sacks. But he had a streak during his career at 20.5, 10.5, 20.5, 17.5. And then he was hurt, didn't do much. Came back 2018, had 16 sacks. Now, his last 24 games, he's had 9 sacks. I'm telling you, to me, that's not one of the 10 best defensive ends in football. And I don't know the last time I watched him play in a game where I saw him dominate a game.
You can't name 10 better defensive ends in football, Mike.
You know, I probably couldn't name 10 defensive ends in football right off the top of my head right now because I'm old. Now, I can name 10 from 1980 if you want.
You probably could. I fully acknowledge you probably could do that, Mike.
I could probably name 50. We'll try. Aaron Donald, they play him at end. He dominates. Myles Garrett, Donald plays every position, though. Cameron Jordan.
Yeah.
Calais Campbell.
Defensive tackle. You play him at DT.
Well, he plays both, though. Correct?
Mostly defensive tackle.
Carlos Dunlap.
Oh, bullshit, Mike.
Bullshit, Mike, huh? Okay, Risley. Now, if you look at this, Carlos Dunlap missed like 4 or 5 games. I mean, most of the time the Bengals had Carlos Dunlap on the field. He wasn't even allowed in the game. Since he has went to Seattle, he has, had more sacks than your boy over there. He's got 5.5, 6 sacks
in the running game half the time because he gets knocked over because he's old as hell and he's nowhere near as good as J.J. Watt.
I never said he was as good as J.J. Watt used to be. They're both 31 years old. Neither one of them are what they used to be. I'm telling you this, J.J. Watt now to me is more at a Carlos Dunlap level, which is a really good football player.
He's still. I'm not saying that they're like not close, but he's still better than Dunlap, Mike.
I don't know that he is. I mean, I'm not impressed with either one of them anymore, to tell you the truth.
I think it's pretty solid. I think it's still a solid lead for J.J. Watt. Or guys like
Carlos
Dunlap.
Dunlap.
Okay. Player at this point.
So if you go edge defenders in the NFL, all right, just off the top of my head, Khalil Mack.
Outside linebacker, but yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, he's an edge rusher, though. I mean, Cameron Jordan, I still think is an end. They line him out. He rushes the edge. Von Miller's probably still better, isn't he? At the same age. I mean, he was more dominant last time he was healthy. TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Nick and Joey Bosa, Brandon Graham in Philadelphia, Danielle Hunter in Minnesota. Yeah, I love him. Danielle Hunter. I think DeMarcus Lawrence is just as good, if not better, right now. I think Zadarius Smith is a guy who is underrated.
Zadarius Smith is very good as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at that, Chase Young, Jerry Hughes ain't bad. I don't know if I'd say he's better than J.J. Watt even now, but to me, right there, I think I just gave you 12 or 13 guys.
Yeah, you include. I was talking about defensive ends. You included outside linebackers. You included a bunch.
Well, we're talking edge.
You want to go that way, sure.
Well, it's an edge pass rusher, though. How many linebackers did I include? A couple?
Zadarius Smith, T.J. Watt was one of them. Khalil Mack is one of them. Shaq Barrett, I don't know if you said him, but he's outside linebacker.
I did not.
Von Miller.
I did not say Zach or Shaq Barrett. So quit lying, Ripley.
Well, you should have said Shaq Barrett, but
I didn't say Shaq Barrett. You did. Shaq Barrett is very good, but he's very inconsistent. I mean, you might be. He's probably close to what TJ or JJ Watt's got right now.
A little bit different. Shaq Barrett's more of just a sack artist at this point. JJ Watt can play the run. Shaq Barrett can't do that.
Dude, I don't know that he plays the run that well anymore from watching him play this last week. I think there's.
Hey, all I'm telling you, as I said, he's I think second NFL in tackles for loss or tackles at the line of scrimmage. So
Yeah, well, he's the only one making tackles for Houston.
And TJ Watt first.
It doesn't matter because Nick Bosa's the best, even though he's hurt. And I really like Zadarius Smith. I really like Zadarius Smith. I really like Daniel.
I can't understand why Smith hasn't gotten more attention because he's been doing a lot for Green Bay. I mean, without him, Green Bay's defense would be even more than it already is. He's basically their lone pass rusher.
I think Zadarius Smith should be under consideration for the Defensive Player of the Year in the NFC.
Really, this year?
Yeah.
Well, I think he had a better year last season.
I do too. He should have been under consideration last year. Just Bosa was so damn good, you couldn't give it to anybody else. If you know what I mean. I mean, hell, it's like Thomas Hearns wasn't that great because he hung out at the same time Marvin Hagler and Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard did. He was still an all-time great, but he wasn't on the level of those two guys. But
yeah, Zadarius Smith is very underrated. Him and I'm trying to think. There's someone else I want. Brandon, that's right, for Philadelphia. He's really good this year. And he's been very consistent.
Brandon Graham's a monster. I mean, Brandon Graham by himself is why that Bengals-Eagles game ended up tied. The Bengals could not block him to save their lives. I expected that to happen against J.J. Watt this last week, and it never happened. I mean, to me, that's not the J.J. Watt I know. And I think J.J. Watt's on his last legs, at least as a guy you're going to play a lot and depend on a lot. Just too many injuries.
Yeah, it's been mostly back and shoulder stuff, I think, at this point.
Yeah. So backs usually don't get better with age.
No. He's going on 32. I would expect, honestly, wouldn't be surprised if he just retires after whenever his current contract ends.
But, all right, Sam, anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope, I think we've covered about all the NFL news and rankings we want to talk about. All
right, Sam won't be here with me tomorrow. I will be here at 1 o'clock to talk about something with somebody. So make sure you check us out. Go to manscaped.com, promo code TGT20 for 20% off your first purchase and free shipping. And we will be back Friday with our NFL Pick'em show. I'm sure Steve Risley will want to be on that one since he kicked Sam's ass picking games last week.
Hey, you had the same record I did in games.
Nobody's going to believe if I say he beat me, though.
No.
He did. He beat us like 3 games. I think we were 9-7 and he was 12-4. So it won't happen again.
No, we need to come out and have a really good week this week.
I don't know. All I know is the Bengals are going to whoop the Ravens anyways. Put the Browns and the Colts in the playoffs. But all right, guys, make sure you check us out on the Rockfin, which is where you can find Sam's power rankings. So make sure you check out Rockfin. As you can see here, we can actually scroll through the Rockfin. Can you see that when I do that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. That wasn't what I meant, but does it flip the screen when I do that?
Yeah, it goes to the main page. I can see that.
All right. So you go to Rockfin, to Grueling Truth. You get all of this. We have an article previewing, I think, tonight's Orange Bowl, the power rankings, a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of video shows. So make sure you go check us out at Rockfin. You can sign up for free with your email. And the great thing about Rockfin is you sign up for free. You don't get just us. You get everybody else on the Rockfin. There's a lot on here, especially if you like wrestling. And we're not talking about WWE. We're talking about actual wrestling. If you see, you get the College Football Today, the Jimmy Dore Show, Tom Lemming, who is huge college football-wise, Kim Iverson, Jason Burmis is on here. So make sure you check it out because, like I said, it's a great deal, especially for the right price of free. And also, if you sign up for $9.99, all these people, including us, will be doing exclusives, where the only way you can see it is if you pay the $9.99 to Rockfin. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. Check them out. Check us out on our Facebook page, The Grueling Truth. And I think, Sam, you and the other Sam will be on at 3:30 for the Sam and Sam show today live.
Yeah, he hit me this morning. He's like, hey, can we schedule a show for today? So we are going to go at 3:30.
All right, so make sure you check out the Sam and Sam show at 3:30. Are you guys going to pick the college football playoff games?
I'm going to pick him. I don't know if McGinnis is going to do it or not, but I'm going to pick the playoff games.
You'll have to make him.
Yeah.
You just have to.
See what he knows.
He'll pick Michigan State. But all right, I was going to say we could do a college football show before those games. I didn't even realize those games were already happening Friday. So
no, I didn't realize it either. It kind of snuck up on me.
I didn't either.
I kept thinking Saturday for whatever reason.
I can tell you this: both games will be blowouts. Alabama's going to play Clemson for the national championship. Agree or disagree? I hope you're right.
No, I agree.
Do you agree?
I hope you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. And I think both games will be blowouts. And I think Clemson might beat Ohio State worse than Alabama beats Notre Dame.
I would be all here for it. I would love to see that happen. I'm sick of hearing from Ohio State fans.
Trevor Lawrence will throw for over 500 yards in that game. And hopefully Dabo will decide to run the score up like they're a D3 school trying to play Clemson.
No, you're not wrong very often, Mike. I'm hoping this is one of the times you're right because I would love to see that happen.
Hey, all I can tell you is if you've paid attention to our college football shows the last few years, when I've picked Clemson to beat Alabama in the national playoffs, they always do it. And it's not just because I don't like Alabama, because Clemson's a better football team. Trevor Lawrence is infinitely better than Mac Jones. That's going to be the difference in that game. Plus, Clemson's defense is very underrated because they played a lot of the season, or at least some of their bigger games, without 3 or 4 of their best defensive players, Sam.
Yeah, including that Notre Dame. At first, Notre Dame game didn't have defensive tackle Tyler Davis, their linebackers Jim Skalski and Mike Jones Jr.
How about this? You throw those 3 guys in and don't even play Trevor Lawrence, and I think they beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame by 2 touchdowns.
No, that's fair. Because if you look back, look back at what they did. It was all the running game that just dominated Clemson the first time around they matched up. You throw in Tyler Davis, record, James Skalski's the defensive captain, so it makes a huge difference you have those guys in.
All right, guys, so I'm going to say Notre Dame and Alabama will be Alabama 42, Notre Dame 27. And I think Clemson, Ohio State will be Clemson 55, Ohio State 17.
I'll go for Clemson, Ohio State. I'll say 45-28. I think they'll still get some points. 45-28.
I think the whole key to that game is Ohio State's running back because that dude looks better than Zeke Elliott right now. And if they can hold him to under 5 yards per carry, if they hold him to under 5 yards per carry, there's no way Justin Fields puts that team on his back and throws them to a win. What about Alabama, Notre Dame?
And I feel more confident actually that Alabama's going to beat Notre Dame than Clemson beating Ohio State, but it's going to be, I don't know, like 56 to 24.
Damn,
I think they're going to kill
Fighting Irish. So disrespectful to the Fighting Irish. All right, guys, hopefully, because Brian Kelly deserves it ever since he stuck that kid on that thing up in the air and then he got him killed because it was windy out and he wanted to get his practice filmed. I don't like Brian Kelly. I also don't like the way he left UC in the lurch before the Sugar Bowl against Florida also. But he's an asshole, so it happens. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I'm Mike Goodpastor. He's Sam Teets. We will see you tomorrow and Friday on the NFL show. The NFL show Friday with the Pick'em show will be at 11 o'clock a.m. Make sure you check us out then. But for now, you've been listening and watching The Grueling Truth.